Okay, so what I've done, Matt, or anyone who's watching, is I've gone ahead and created a DHCP scope for the voice VLAN that is automatically created um, using the Xfer build, uh, the pre-build file. Um, so I went ahead and created a DHCP scope, and I've moved my network cable from port 1 over to port 4. And it looks like I just got kicked. So I need to figure out what that is. There we go. Um, so now I'm connected to port 4, right? And the reason why is the next steps are I'm going to build this firewall out so that it looks like how it's going to be in place, which means I'm going to need to create a WAN in another port just temporarily so I can use DHCP where I'm building this firewall out. And I'll use port 1 for their LAN, I'll use port 2 for their WAN, I'll use port 3 for their backup WAN. Port 4 is going to stay the voice LAN, so just make sure that that looks right and all those things. So I'm starting to really build this out now, just like how it's going to be deployed. But I always think ahead and think about, well, how am I going to get connected to it? How, since their LAN, the DHCP comes from their in-house server, and I'm not on site. So how am I going to do these things, right? And the way we get around that is we create a temporary WAN connection on one of the higher port numbers, and we use a temporary LAN connection. In this case, I'm just using the voice network connection so that we can stay connected to the firewall and those kinds of things. So first thing, as soon as I log in using obviously the IP address of the gateway for the voice VLAN, I'm going to go ahead and say change my password. I'm going to put in the current password, right? And then I'm going to put in the current password and add a 6 at the end of it. It always prompts you to do this after you've done a firmware upgrade. And this should be changed every 3 months anyway. We've gotten out of the habit of doing that. So I'll go ahead and apply this. Once it takes, I'm going to say OK, and I'm going to update the configuration in ConnectWise. And I'm going to hit save. And I'm also going to copy this and make it the backup password. And I'm going to make it the master key. So it says right away, do you want to create the secure storage master key? This is needed to restore this firewall, and if you don't do this, it won't do backups. So we're going to go ahead and say create that key, and just as you saw, I put in the notes there in the configuration, the master key is going to be the password of the unit 3 times. And we check the box that we've stored this, we've put it in ConnectWise and hit save. We'll go ahead and say create key. And while I'm thinking about those keys and those passwords, I'm just going to go right to backup and firmware. And I'm going to change this to City of Pleasant Ridge because that's the customer that I'm working on. I'm going to change the encryption password to be the password of the firewall twice, right? And since that just changed, I want to make sure that we do that so that we've got that in there, right? So that's where my head was at with this one. Just a little explanation there. The next video is going to be me actually doing some of that work of the things that we captured in the spreadsheet from their existing firewall.